Welcome one and all to the example on drawing trig functions level 2. This is a very similar process to level 1. The primary difference here is that we will have more difficult frequency values and midline is now involved. In this example, we will focus on drawing the cosine function. Now, as I said, it's a very similar process to level 1. So what we need to first do is we need to set up our x and y axes, our labels. And in order to do that, we need to identify all the different key components to this equation. So the first thing I'll establish is, what is my amplitude? My amplitude in this example is equal to 2. My frequency is the capital B, which is in front of the x. So that is my 3/4. And the plus 8 is my midline. So therefore my midline itself is equal to 8. Need to establish what our period is. Again, the period is very important to know in these types of problems. So remember that the formula is 2 pi divided by whatever the b is. This example, we have it so that b is 3/4, so I have 2 pi divided by the fraction of 3/4. Now hopefully you've had enough practice in the previous Delta Math assignments so that you know that whenever you have a fraction within a fraction, you want to apply the keep, change, flip rule. So this is where you keep 2 pi. You can even rewrite it as 2 pi over 1 if you want to for extra measure. But instead of dividing, we're going to change it to multiplication. And we're going to multiply it with the second fraction, which we're going to flip to 4/3. So 2 pi over 1 times 4/3. This is going to give us the final result where 2 pi multiplied with 4 gives me 8 pi divided by the denominator of 1 times 3, which is 3. I cannot reduce this any further, so I am done. My period itself is 8 pi over 3. That's what I'm going to use to label the x-axis. And the next thing I want to do before I actually start drawing the graph is identify what type of function it is. We earlier established that this is cosine, so picture-wise it should look something like this, where you have a high point, then a mid, then low, then mid, then high. Okay, it should look something like that. The placement of where it is now going to change depending on our midline and amplitude itself. You might want to, in this example, know what the max and min values are. So on the side, I'll probably say that the max itself, oops, don't know why this is acting up. The max is equal to the midline plus the amplitude, so 8 plus 2, which is 10. And the minimum is the, oops, don't know why this is acting up now. The minimum is the midline subtracted by the amplitude, so 8 minus 2, which is 6. So knowing that, it's going to be very useful. Now we're going to go ahead and type our answer and graph into Delta Math itself. So as I said, we want to put our period in the x-axis label, so 8 pi divided by 3. And then for my x-axis label, so because my midline is 8, I know that it's going to start off very high. I want to make it easy on myself. So for the y label, I know that the amplitude is 2, so therefore I'm going to do in differences of 2. If you want to use 1, that's fine. But notice that it will just go higher because if I start with 1, it will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it'll start all the way up here. I'm going to just make it easier on myself and do a difference of 2. So done. There's my graph. Notice again that my y-axis is now differences of 2. And then for my x-axis, they gave me the key critical point of 8 pi over 3. And you know what? I'm going to do 3 over every time for each of my intervals. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3. So that's my first critical key point there. 1, 2, 3 is my second critical key point. 1, 2, 3 is my third critical key point 1, 2, 3. So that's where it's going to end. All right, so now let's bring back and recall everything we know. So cosine is going to start high at the max. So therefore my max in this example is 10. Again, it's the midline plus 2. So therefore it's going to start up here. Then, now remember that our midline is 8. So we're not going to go down all the way over here. We're going to base it off the midline of 8 here. So let's see. I'm going to go down 2 over 3. I did a difference of 3 over. So mid is 8. 6 is my minimum. So notice that my critical key point should not go below 6. So I'm going to go 3 over, which is 6 down here. 3 over back to the mid at 8. And then 3 over to get to the high point of 10. So notice that that is my cosine function. That's my graph. Draws it for me. So now I submit my answer, and let's hope that this is correct. Yes, it is. Woohoo! So again, same thing. They identified the amplitude, frequency, midline. They found the period using the frequency, and then they identified the max and minimum. Big thing again is that it's a cosine function, so therefore it starts at the max. And here they actually draw the vertical line, the imaginary lines for the midline and the intervals. Make sure you pay attention to how they do that, because again, that's very similar to what I did. The only difference is that they use their y label with the difference of 1, so it's a lot more spacious, whereas mine's a little bit more narrow, but it's okay. It has the same principalities. There you go. That's an example on drawing trig graphs level 2.